Welcome to Unlocking Vulnerability, the podcast that explores what vulnerability really looks like in everyday life. I'm Helen, and in each episode I'm joined by a different guest who'll bring their unique insight and perspectives from across the vulnerability space. We'll discuss the realities behind vulnerability and what it takes to respond when people need additional support. We're glad to have you here, so grab a cup of tea and let's get started. Welcome back to Unlocking Vulnerability with me, Helen Pettifer. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Bridie O'Shea, who is the Customer Insight and Excellence Specialist at Mansfield Building Society. Hello, Bridie. It's wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today as well. So, do you want to start by giving the listeners a bit of a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So as you've mentioned, my name's Bridie and I work at Mansfield Building Society. So my job title is Customer Insight and Excellence Specialist. I'm also one of our vulnerable customer champions, as well as one of our carer champions as well. I've worked at Mansfield for coming up to 8 years now, across a few different roles, always within our savings team, supporting our customers and colleagues in one way or another.
Brilliant. So I come across lots of different titles when I'm sort of talking to people in the vulnerability space. I'll be honest and say I haven't come across your title before. So so you are unique, which is brilliant. So can you share a little bit more about what that looks like in practice and potentially what vulnerability looks like within the society?
Yeah, so in practice, my role is generally reviewing a lot of our customer journeys and our processes, and then optimising them where we can. So I'm always looking for customer feedback, whether that's from colleagues as well or from customers directly. And essentially, we're trying to optimise the customer journey where possible. Obviously, having the vulnerability experience as well, it does mean that I can kind of view that journey from a different perspective as well. So we're always making sure that we're thinking of our potential vulnerable customers as well. So on the back of that, if we have got a potential customer, a vulnerable customer, what I will do after that kind of journey's happened is also review that retrospectively as well. So kind of more of an administrative side, but making sure it looks as though we've dealt with that customer the way we should. We've recorded everything that we needed to, and we've made the relevant adaptations if we need to as well. So I'm kind of here to look after our vulnerable customers, make sure our colleagues are confident in supporting them as well.
Brilliant. And I know that you do fantastic work, and you're always bringing fresh ideas and insights into our Q&A sessions, which is brilliant. So that's great. As you know, this podcast is being relaunched because Helen Pettifer Training is 10 years old this year. So we felt it was a great time to bring it back. And we recognise that there's been so much change over the years, over the last 10 years within the vulnerability space. So what have you seen and what have been your main vulnerability related priorities over the years within the organisation?
I think over the past year or probably a little bit longer, a big focus for me has just been kind of going back to basics, if you like, with vulnerability. We've had lots of different training throughout the years, but I tried to, like I say, take us back to basics. So we were looking at it from afresh because I was quite keen that it wasn't just something that we visit once a year and then, it's ticked off, forgotten about, and then we think about it again next year. I was keen that we reintroduce some face-to-face training with all of our colleagues that deal with our customers face-to-face. So, we've ensured that's taken place in 2025 as a refresher. We've also introduced additional vulnerable customer champions. So whilst I am more than happy to be that person, it was quite important that we've got some more. So, we've got 4 branches, so it's more than ideal to have a couple more of those champions across the areas. It's a different perspective. It's somebody else to pick up the phone and help our colleagues. So we've done that as well, but that will continue. We'll always look at training that we need to attend. So we've got that additional knowledge to support our colleagues. So, for example, we've done some carer training across our branch colleagues, and some of our mortgage team as well that all deal with customers over the phone. So it's just those kind of niche bits of training that we've identified will just help us, to identify certain customers and support them where needed. And that actually gave us a carer-friendly organisation accreditation as well.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
that was a good end to the year last year.
Yeah, that's brilliant, amazing. And actually caring and looking out for carers is often not a priority for firms. They don't really see that as potentially being a vulnerability. But obviously, I've got my son Daniel, who has got learning disabilities, and just the things that I've had to deal with advocating for him over the years has really sort of highlighted that firms aren't set up for talking to a third person or recognizing that individual might need somebody else to advocate on their behalf. So it's great to hear that. I mean, can you give any sort of top tips for the listeners today of what they can do perhaps in that space? Because it is needs to be focused on.
Yeah, definitely. I think the training that we had, so that was with Nottinghamshire Carers Association. So really the training covered how to look out for, somebody with caring responsibilities or somebody being cared for, because obviously in the Building Society we'll see it from both sides.
Yeah.
And ultimately just being there and showing a bit of empathy. I think understanding what they might be going through was a big learning curve for all of us. If you've not got that background, then it is something that you probably won't have thought of that in depth before. But the key thing for us was just knowing where to go to signpost. We're not the experts. That's not what we're looking for. We just want to be able to know how to support somebody when that happens, and then where we can kind of signpost them to. So we've got lots of kind of handouts and bits of information that we can refer back to that are all local to us in Nottinghamshire. So we've got that in our back pocket when we need it.
That's brilliant. So would you encourage other firms to perhaps look at going down that space and delivering that training?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's absolutely nothing to lose. And like I say, it can be quite eye-opening if it's not something that you've been exposed to before.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think it also brought in conversations within the team members themselves? Because obviously we look at vulnerable customers, but obviously we've got team members that even might be experiencing some of the situations that our customers are as well. Did that raise any conversations in the teams of their sort of outside of work responsibilities?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was quite emotive, to be honest, some of the bits that we touched on. So yeah, it definitely kind of raised awareness, if not for our customers, but for our colleagues as well, and knowing what some of us are going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've got to the age where I've got sort of, parents that are probably likely to be needing care in sort of the next few years. So that's always at the back of my mind. So recognizing, team members that have those extra responsibilities can be helpful. Yeah. So you mentioned there about the branches, and I know I've been up and I've seen your branches in action, which has been brilliant, and I really know that they're deep rooted in the communities. So what does having that high street presence mean for Mansfield and being sort of in the centre of people's communities?
Yeah, so being part of our local community is really important to us. As you've probably seen when you've been and visited us, you've seen that. It's a huge part of our culture to be able to offer that and to really connect and get to know our customers and the local community. I mean, for example, we have our community support scheme that we offer to local groups and charities, so they can reach out to us and ask for more donations for certain projects. So, for example, there's a local college to us. We've been able to donate over £40,000 to them for certain projects. And then it works both ways.
Incredible.
They've had us in to then go and see what they've done, offer team building activities and things like that for us. So yeah, it's important for us to show that we care about our customers and local organisations as well.
Yeah, so important. That's incredible to hear. Yeah, how much you've donated. It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
definitely
so powerful.
Something we're really proud of.
Yeah, and obviously in the world that's increasingly becoming more digital and AI, focused. Do you think we are at risk of losing that human touch? More and more shops, branches are closing on the high street. What do you think the risk of that, losing that human touch is?
Yeah, I think it's probably a topic we could go on about for a long time, because, like you say, we all know that we're going increasingly digital, and it can be quite frightening. It's being online isn't for everybody. I think if we were to again lose that connection that we've got with our customers, it could be quite frightening. As well as just being that friendly community that we are for our customers. But obviously there is the whole fraud aspect to it as well. I think if we weren't there in person, or over the phone speaking to us, if we weren't there as that connection with the customer, it probably could be quite frightening what could happen. So yeah, whilst we are keen that we're investing in new technology, we want people to have the choice. If they want to deal with us online, then they can. That's brilliant. But we've got no intention of leaving the high street, because we know how important that is.
Yeah, so important. And even when I was delivering training with your teams, they were sharing those stories of where they're often the first people to pick up that there might be something going on for that customer, because the customer comes in weekly, they come in regularly, they get to know them. Then they can just check in with colleagues. No, I haven't seen Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so this week. Have you seen them? Are they okay? And I know that the team members have shared then that they've either picked up the phone and contacted them, or even just dropped around just to sort of see how are you doing? Is everything okay? So yeah, we just don't get that anywhere else, do we?
No. Again, that is something that makes me really proud to be part of Mansfield, because we do that just because we care. Nobody's telling us to go and ring that customer because we've noticed they've not made a transaction. It's it's our colleagues in the branches that, like you say, will go, oh, Mr. Such and Such hasn't been in, let's give them a quick call, just because they want to do that.
Yes, yeah. But they get to know their habits, don't they? And they get to know, sort of they come in on I know sort of when my gran was alive, she would go and collect her pension on a certain day, and that would be her sort of day out and lunch and coffee and things. So it does become a big thing for them in their lives, where potentially they are incredibly lonely and isolated at home. It's important that we do create those safe environments for them to come out and just interact and have that human interaction.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So as the customers are disclosing more and more difficult things around things that they're experiencing in their lives, that does then expose team members to some of those really sort of difficult, distressing, harrowing conversations. What are you doing with regards to supporting team members in building their resilience and making sure that they're equipped to navigate those calls, conversations?
Yeah, I think there's lots of things that we offer really as a society. The main thing really is we do offer, we've got wellbeing champions. So we've got so many colleagues across the society that are also our wellbeing champions. So they kind of do a lot continuously throughout the year to kind of make their presence known, just to make sure people know that there is support around. Like you say, we don't know what might come in through the door each day when you are customer facing. There can be all sorts of weird and wonderful things that customers might spring upon us. So it again is a big part of our culture that we make that kind of open door policy really clear from the get-go. We offer various things throughout the year, as I mentioned. Our wellbeing champions last year, for example, we did a couple of wellbeing walks throughout the year. So it was just that chance to kind of get away from your desk, from the office for half an hour, get some fresh air and talk to each other. So I think it is something we do naturally, because we know we've got that support from which comes from the up downwards, so that we can offer our colleagues.
That's brilliant. And it's sometimes it is just simple things like that. It doesn't have to be quite big, elaborate, sort of costly. Sometimes it is just a case of let's just take a break, step away, let's just catch up and forget about work and just chat about dogs, holidays, and whatever it might be. So that was great. So did you have a good take up on those walks then? Did people enjoy those?
yeah, it was nice. Whenever the weather was nice enough, we'd have to rearrange a couple.
Yes, yeah.
So we kind of based them from our head office, and then those out in the branches, we kind of arranged those on separate times. During the hours they were shut for customers. So they went out and kind of chatted to each other as well. But I think they, like I say, we kind of have that connection naturally. And I think if something was happening, particularly in the branches, they're kind of a close enough bunch that they'll pick up on that and, support their colleagues, whether they are a wellbeing champion or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we talked about them picking up in customers some of those nuanced behaviours and indicators. But yeah, absolutely. If they get used to it and regularly see their colleagues, then they're going to be able to be best placed to pick up something with their colleagues. Absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. So, I mean, there's some great tips there that you've given the listeners, because sometimes it's not all about just the fruit and the mental health first aid. Sometimes it's adding extra layers to it and just providing that safe space and even just a break, a step away from your desk to just catch your breath, connect with people can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it?
Totally important. Yeah, very, very much so. So what are you currently working on then? So I know we've talked about sort of what's happened over the years, 2026. What are you working on currently? What's the focus moving forward?
So I've got a few different ideas floating around, I would say, but I've had to narrow them down.
Yes.
I think because, as I mentioned last year, I tried to kind of take our vulnerability piece back to basics and, like I say, make sure it's a regular visit. That's what I want to carry on doing throughout this year, next year. So whether that's finding those niche kind of training topics that we can roll out for our colleagues. But essentially my goal is just to try and make sure everybody feels confident in dealing with a vulnerable customer. Whilst I'm here to support them, if that customer can feel like they've got the support they need upon their first visit, then that's a massive bonus for us. So that's one thing that I'm keen to just keep in the background, make sure that it's reoccurring in everybody's minds. And then there's a couple of kind of journeys I want to look at in a bit more detail as well, such as our power of attorney and then our bereavement journey. It's just something that I think has cropped up that I think there's some improvements that we can make for our customer journey. So that's something that I'm quite keen to get stuck into for the first half of the year. And then I think following that, as we've mentioned, kind of a digital world, I'm keen to kind of explore how that works, how we can still support our customers online. I'm sure there's lots of things that we can be learning about. So that's something we're quite excited to look at as well. And kind of make sure we're educating our customers along the way as well. It's not just us to look out for them, but how they can look after themselves as well. So whether that's, coffee mornings in our branches and we've got, local fraud team in there or whatever the case may be. Last year we had a couple of coffee mornings with we called it a meet the beat. So we had a local police officer come in and just kind of be there as a bit of presence. And customers would pop round, have a drink with us and just kind of raise any kind of concerns. And we had lots of handouts and things for them. So we're keen to continue that into next year as well.
This year. Yeah, love that. Yeah, love that idea. Yeah, because you've got the environment where people can come in and that's great, isn't it? And
we want to make sure
they feel safe and comfortable coming into branch, it's a great way.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. We want them to know that it is a safe space, like you say. They can come in and share their concerns with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So some meaty topics that you've got this year. I mean, bereavement and power of attorney. I think I think it's been a focus for the FCA. Definitely was last year. I know that some firms have been definitely looking at their processes around bereavement and again power of attorney. That's typically where we see a lot of the harm for customers and even for colleagues as well. Actually, if they're experiencing bereavement, then they're exposed to those conversations as well. So I think, just revisiting your journey is going to be incredibly helpful in just just understanding what people are experiencing.
Yeah, it's one of those times where you know that, you know, if that customer could be going through the worst time possible. So we need to just make sure that we're doing everything we can to make that as smooth as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then the AI, the digital space. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be something you'll look at continually, because the speed at which the
I know, yeah.
technology is advancing, it's incredible, isn't it? And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely going to be a continuous journey.
yeah, absolutely. So some really meaty topics then. Brilliant. So you'll have to keep us posted on how that all goes. Bring your thoughts to our Q&A sessions.
Yeah,
That'll
definitely.
be brilliant. So, so you've shared a huge amount of what you've been working on. What has been a moment or outcome that's really stayed with you personally from all that's gone on? What's really impacted you the most?
Um, there's probably tons of things I could share that have been, you know, really touching or lovely moments that we've shared with customers. I think one thing that will always stand out for me was during COVID. Obviously, life changed for so many people. There was a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. And for me, so my role kind of changed slightly during that time. I worked from home for part of it. So it meant I couldn't do my kind of normal role as I usually would. So what I did is I started making outbound calls to our vulnerable customers. So, you know, the kind of register of vulnerable customers that we have. I made calls out to them, and it started obviously kind of making sure they were, you know, they were okay, they were getting the support they needed. Is there somebody still doing their shopping for them if that was the case? But kind of by the end of it, it was more of a, you know, it wasn't really Mansfield Building Society related at all. It was just, I'm here if you want to talk. You know, there was a lot of our elderly customers that everybody was isolating, wasn't they? So they weren't seeing their friends and family as they would normally. So by the end of it, I had like a little list of customers I would call each week. And like I say, it was just to chat. And you could tell it made such a difference to them. So I think that's something that will always stay with me.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, and just when people need that human connection, yeah. It just
Yeah,
always comes back to human connection, doesn't it? Yeah,
that's
whenever
it.
we talk about vulnerable customers or even customers in general, it is human
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, you know,
Oh,
we weren't seeing them as often as we would usually. If we had to kind of restrict our transactions to those that were essential. So we knew those customers that really were popping in just to say hello, that they weren't able to do that. So yeah, we needed
no.
to make sure that they were okay.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I love that story. You've never shared that before, so yeah, that's yeah, it's moved me. That's brilliant. Oh, fantastic. So we've covered a lot then today, and there's a lot that our listeners can take away from everything that you've shared. So, are there any final thoughts that you want to share with the listeners today? Any thoughts that you want them to take away from what you've discovered over the years with vulnerability?
Yeah, I think for me, what stood out is that vulnerability will continue. I think at one time we might have perhaps thought, okay, this is it, you know, we've done our training and that's what we'll do, but things adapt far too quickly. And, you know, there's lots of cases that are unique. So I think it's just important that we remember that vulnerability will continue, and we're probably just at the start of our journey. As we've mentioned again, the whole digital journey, we know that's going to potentially be an area of concern. So I just think it's important, you know, for all organisations to get on the front foot, to educate our colleagues, our customers, to make them aware that we are here to support them and work with them to get the outcome that they need.
Brilliant. So fantastic thoughts to share. And you're absolutely right. We're never going to be at the end of this journey, are we? It's
No.
just going to keep evolving. You know, there's no end. It's just keep learning, keep educating, keep
That's
being
it. Yeah.
mindful, keep listening to what people are experiencing. Yeah,
Yeah, and if there's something
absolutely.
that you need help with, then to shout about that and gain the confidence that you need to support your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Bridie, for being my guest today and just sharing everything that you've shared. It sounds like there's been some amazing progress, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unlocking Vulnerability. If today's conversation has resonated with you, please feel free to share it with others who may find it useful. You'll find more episodes like this by searching Unlocking Vulnerability wherever you listen to podcasts. If this episode has left you with questions about any aspect of consumer vulnerability, I regularly host free Q&A sessions on Zoom where you're welcome to join the conversation. You can find out more at helenpettifer.com. Thank you for listening, and please take care.